Hi Ninja Nerds, in this video today we're going to be talking about the blood-brain barrier. But before I get into this, I just want to say thank you so much for you Ninja Nerds. I really appreciate all the comments and the support that you've given to the Ninja Nerd Nursing channel. I really appreciate it. And now let's continue on with our neuro blood-brain barrier lecture. So within the blood-brain barrier, right, we've been talking about neurology, we've been talking about what there's different types of things going on within our body, different types of nervous systems, right? And the blood-brain barrier is really important to the central nervous system, particularly around the brain. Now, when we say this, some people, even I did back when I was learning A&P 1 and 2, I thought blood-brain barrier, okay, it's like a barrier that's around the brain and it's not letting things in and out. Or it's a barrier that's kind of right here and it's not allowing things to go up into the brain. And that would be incorrect. The blood-brain barrier, and how you can remember it now, is that it's a barrier between the blood and the brain, okay? So when we say blood-brain barrier, you know, that tongue twister, we're talking about a barrier between the blood and the brain, particularly around the blood vessel. So you can see here we have the brain, right? We have these little blood vessels coming up and through. And if we zoom in a little bit, we can see the vessel here, and then the brain, right? And then we zoom in a little more, and now we can see the structures of the blood-brain barrier. And what we can see here is it's on the side, and we can also see, if we had cut the blood vessel and looked down into it, this is the lumen. We're going to be able to see how the structures are around. So just to give you a better perspective of what these structures do. And we know that within the vessels, we can allow things to go in and out of our body, right? The whole portion, a whole part of the blood in our body to be pumped around and move is to deliver nutrients, right? So allowing the vessels to have things come out and in, right? And within the brain, we know that there's certain things that are delivered to the brain, right? We know that there's things like oxygen that needs to go to the brain. Water needs to go to the brain. But we also know that things like caffeine can go in and affect the brain, or alcohol go in and affect it. So within the blood-brain barrier, we have a couple different structures to allow it to be a lot more selective, right? They say a semi-permeable selective membrane, right? All of these words are basically saying this is a very, very unique area and you're not allowed in here unless you meet this criteria, right? So the structures that we have here, I made the colors really, really nice and simple, so hopefully we can get this really easily and understand it very well. We have our blood vessel, right? And then we have our endothelial cells, right? These endothelial cells line our blood vessels, and typically they're a little more spaced out in other vessels of the body. But for the brain, they're a lot closer. And so close that there are these little purple things here. These are proteins that are named tight junctions. These tight junctions, what they do is they bring these vessels closer together. And they do that meaning that things that are big aren't going to be able to get through, right? So they're bringing them closer, making it a lot tighter of an area so that we can't let things go in and out as easily, making it a little more selective as to what is going through. So now we've touched on the endothelial cell, we've touched on the tight junctions, and we can see here, right, these tight junctions and the endothelial cells lining this blood vessel. The next thing we have are these blue cells, right? We can see them here kind of going almost around the outside of the vessel, and here looking at them from the side. These are called pericytes. And what pericytes are pericytes have a couple different functions. First, they're reinforcing the job of the tight junctions here. They're reinforcing that really, really tight, really, really small area to let things not go in, right? But what it also does is it can help with the flow of blood. And it does that because they have a contractile mechanism, right? And they're able to contract. And if these things contract, they're going to make that lumen or that opening, the diameter of the blood vessel, smaller, or if they relax, allowing it to get bigger. So pericytes not only reinforce that barrier, but what they also do is they can have an ability to interact with the blood flow. And one other thing that we know about pericytes is that they also allow and help with the blood vessels generation and the tight junction, allowing them to have more new growth. And the last structure that we're going to talk about here are these big glial cells right here. You can see they've got these projections, which we call end feet, that are going up and over top of these pericytes on the endothelial cells. You can also see it here, right? These end feet, these projections that are circumnavigating all the way around this blood vessel. And what astrocytes are is they're just reinforcing the blood-brain barrier. They're pulling everything together and they're making it nice, tight, and compact. Again, making it harder for substances to get through, to get in and out. All right, nerds, now that we understand the structure and function, the little bits that are in the blood-brain barrier, now let's talk about the overall function of the blood-brain barrier, right? So we got a couple different things here. The first is going to be that barrier, right? That barrier between the blood and the brain, or that protection. So the function of it is to protect the brain, allow certain things in and out, right? Allow waste to get out and allow for us to have a properly functioning brain and a nice area for the brain to be in and live in. So after protection, we also want to think about what's in the brain, right? So another thing that the blood-brain barrier does is it helps with the homeostasis, right? So not only is it protecting, but it's also going to be able to tell us, okay, I don't have enough of this, I need more of this. So things like ions, different types of hormones, we're going to be able to be regulated because our blood-brain barrier is going to be able to allow for those different types of concentrations and feeling that homeostasis within the body. Okay, and then the last is going to be the regulation of neurotransmitters, right? We know that the brain likes different types of neurotransmitters like dopamine or serotonin, right? And because of that, the blood-brain barrier is allowing for those different types neurotransmitters to come through. So regulating those is really important as well for the blood-brain barrier. So now that we understand the function, right? Protect, keep it nice and balanced, and also regulate anything else that we need to, like neurotransmitters. Because again, the blood-brain barrier is protecting blood from our central nervous system, and in reality, our brain. But what causes dysfunction? What could cause the blood-brain barrier to not do these processes, right? One of those things that you can probably think of is any type of trauma. So when we think about trauma, we can think about different things like a hemorrhage, concussion, right? Things that are basically altering the structural function of the blood-brain barrier. Then we can also think about things that could also upset the balance, the homeostasis, the regulating. So things like sepsis or infections within the blood and in the brain, right? Things that are going to be going through and changing that. You can also think about dysfunction as in it's not being able to balance. Why? Maybe there's too much of one thing that is getting in and now it's disrupting our blood-brain barrier, right? So any type of neurotoxin that maybe comes in and causes the dysfunction because now the blood-brain barrier is overloaded, so it's not going to be able to withstand such a pressure of all of those toxins coming in. So then we think about what causes this dysfunction, right? And then we think about what we're doing as a nurse, right? These NCLEX key points. We've been talking about neurology, right? We've been talking about different types of neuro. One of the things we need to keep in mind about the NCLEX is we have a selective permeable membrane here. It's allowing certain things in and out. And because of that, we know with nursing, if we give certain medications, they may alter the brain. And if we give certain medications, they may not get to the brain. So a problem or a thing that we need to think about with NCLEX is different medications that can cross the blood-brain barrier, right? We know one that is always going to pop up, and we'll talk about it in a later lecture, levodopa, right? We give that for someone for Parkinson's, right, to help with the dopamine levels. And that is allowed to cross the blood-brain barrier. But it crosses the blood-brain barrier because it's got a little, buddy that's going to help it along to get it through. So one of the things is medications, right? Are they going to be able to go through? Another thing that we need to remember with the NCLEX is our assessment. Our neuro assessment. Is our patient acting the way that they should with a medication or they shouldn't? Is there something that's changed now within our shift or from the shift before or what someone else has put? So we want to make sure that not only do we know about the medications that are crossing and not crossing and also having issues or changing the patient's mentality, but we also want to think about our neuro assessment. It's our duty and our job as a nurse to make sure we are keeping our patients safe. And one of those ways is to make sure first is the neuro intact, right? Is there something that's changed with our neuro and our patient? Okay, Ninja Nerds, so just to recap really quickly, with the NCLEX medications, are there things that are crossing and are not crossing? And then also with assessments, are there changes or alterations in our neuro assessment? So I hope this video made sense. I hope you learned something about the blood-brain barrier and the importance of why us as nurses need to know it. And as always, until next time.